What's going on, people? Today I will be reviewing Dark Phoenix, coming up for you guys next. So I just got back from my screening of The Dark Phoenix. I have a lot to discuss on this review, and I have a lot to say about it. But before I get into that, if you have seen this movie, comment down below. Let me know what you thought about it. Keep the spoilers to a minimum for people down there. And if you like this video, subscribe down here, because this is what I do. I do this all the time, and there are a lot of great videos that I have coming out for you guys. And getting into the movie itself, this was directed by Simon Kinberg, and it stars Sophie Turner, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, and Nicholas Hoult, along with a whole lot of other people. This is a very star-studded cast in a franchise that has had quite a bit of stars. And what I will say for the whole franchise as a whole is it has a way of finding very new talent and really making them stars. Michael Fassbender, of course, Hugh Jackman, Sophie Turner. She was on Game of Thrones, but they are really pushing her out there for this as well. Nicholas Hoult, he was on some British shows that I remember seeing him in Skins, and now he is a big name because of this franchise. So this franchise actually really means a lot to actually producing some new talent in the field, and I will be sad to see it go. Coming into this movie, though, I was a little trepidatious just because of the fact that not that I really just go by the buzz of this movie, but how could you stay away from it? The buzz for this movie is pretty bad, and from what I was hearing about reshoots and all of that, this seemed like a debacle, and I was worried about that going into it. I will say that this movie actually is not a debacle in my mind. I am actually going to disagree with the majority of the people out there and say that this movie is actually, in my mind, pretty good. Very different than the other X-Men films out there, but hey, is that a bad thing? No. I mean, it's not the movie that you want to end a franchise on. And you can clearly tell that they, while conceptualizing this, weren't planning on ending it here. But with that being said, this isn't a bad entry. The biggest knock against this movie is just that it doesn't have an epic scope, with a story that screams for it. It screams for a multi-picture arc, and not something that is just all summed up in one movie. That is just what this story requires. That's how it was in the comics. That's how it was conceived, and they have failed to actually have that epic quality in one of Fox's X-Men films. Hopefully, they can have that epic quality in the Marvel films. We all know that the X-Men will eventually be in these Marvel films that have been coming out, and hopefully they will find their groove there. But that is the biggest knock against it. This movie largely feels like a TV episode of a very good TV show. There is going to be a lot of well-acted but still melodrama with action scenes sprinkled throughout. And I do feel like some of it is budget constraints. They want to bring the budget of these X-Men films down now that they aren't making what they used to. But also, I feel like the way that they wanted to tell this story was to tell a more personal story for their character of Jean Grey and really focus on Sophie Turner and put her in the spotlight. Unlike most people, I haven't been really impressed with Sophie Turner even in Game of Thrones. I've seen Game of Thrones. I watch it with my wife, and I say that she is one of those actresses that have never really captured me up until this movie. You know, she just has kind of a nasally voice that really has it really causes her characters to feel kind of one note and flat to me. She feels very unemotional, unexpressive, and it's just something that I kept on bumping up against her, that I actually did bump up against her with X-Men Apocalypse on, where I can't get on your side because you're so unemotive. Here, you get Jean's pain. She is a very powerful mutant that has had very bad things happen to her in her life that she has trouble getting past. And when she encounters this entity that causes her to have her powers amplified to the point where she really can't control them anymore, all of those seeds of repressed anger and all of that come out and manifest. And what do? Do you try to help that person? Or do you shield everybody else from that person to make sure that she cannot harm them or anybody while she is going through this difficult time? And it is a real conflict that I saw in the comics when I was growing up and reading them, and it is something that is done here, not expertly well, but well enough to the point where I really got into it and I liked seeing it. And the way that Sophie Turner embodies this character, I would say, is the best Jean Grey. She is given the most to do, I will say, and Sophie Turner largely steps up to the plate here. And I feel like most of the cast here does too. Specifically, James McAvoy, he's always great in everything, but here Charles is given some dimension. And, they choose to go through some character beats that they've gone through with him in the past. But here, because this is more of a dramatic film, he is given the time to really explore that. And he takes full advantage of it. There is a decent amount of complexity to his character here where he doesn't have all the answers, and that is something refreshing to see that I remember seeing growing up as in the comics. To be honest, I never liked Professor X in the comics. He always seemed like just a stuffy character that always felt like he knew so much when in reality he did not. And here, some of that shines through, and it is very enjoyable. Cody Smith-McPhee gets a chance to show off a little bit of his skills as Nightcrawler in this movie, and he is awesome. I just enjoy every single action scene with Nightcrawler in it. It is amazing. And Ty Sheridan's Cyclops is kind of one note in this. I've always kind of felt like that. I've always felt that way with how Fox has portrayed Cyclops. But here you get more of his inner workings and what kind of makes him tick. And I like that more than in X-Men Apocalypse. Ty Sheridan is better in this movie, I will say. And overall, all of the drama that everybody is complaining about with this movie, how it is so drama heavy and not heavy on the action, and how this isn't, the action film. I liked the drama in this movie. It played for me a lot more than it plays for other people. Largely because of Sophie Turner's performance and how much these actors are bringing to the table here, because they are bringing a lot. But when the action kicks in this movie, it is really damn good. I would say that this movie displays X-Men working together and how they use their powers to amplify each other. And I really feel like the combo moves that they pull in this movie is really something special that past X-Men films really haven't capitalized on. There are smaller nitpicks with this movie that I have, like the beginning scene where they go into outer space feels kind of clunky. It comes on a little too fast. Not everything makes sense with it. Jessica Chastain's character is largely a mystery throughout this movie, so I won't spoil it for anybody. But I will say that she feels like kind of a third wheel and a lousy villain here. Quicksilver is always a character that I have liked and a lot of people have liked. He kind of takes a back seat in this movie. And again, I just really took to the drama that this movie put forth and how it dealt with its characters. And I will say that this is kind of like the anti-Godzilla. Godzilla, they wanted to focus so much on that, on those human characters, and I felt like just the drama just didn't play, so I was very bored during those moments. Here, they do want to focus on these characters, but the drama actually really works, at least for me anyway, and so I don't care, and I am not just itching for an action scene. I want to really see how this drama unfolds for these characters. And yes, this does feel small scale, and yes, it isn't the epic scope that this story really screams for, but I do feel like it is very well told, and it doesn't feel chopped to bits like the majority of films that have had reshoots upon reshoots feels like. This feels very coherent and cohesive and very much flows, and I just really appreciated my experience. I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10, and that is something very controversial. I really dug this movie. Do I feel like it is a movie that people have to see in movie theaters? Maybe not, but I feel like it is a movie that fans would actually really like, because it has probably some of the strongest acting of any X-Men film, and I've really enjoyed it for that. So coming up next, guys, I do have to go right into Batman and Robin. I have to review that and then get into all 4 original Batman films in 4K Ultra HD. They have finally showed up. I'm going to actually watch the first one tonight for you guys, and I will be reviewing that very shortly. I thank all of you for watching this video. I don't even need to say it because you know it, and I will see all of you next time.